Hello, my dear viewers and the rest of the listeners. Welcome for this presentation in which I am speaking about empathy. The title of this presentation is Empathize with Each Other Without Conditions. Empathize with the others without conditions. My name is Meme JM, or you can simply call me Emily Swap. When we talk about empathizing with others, what do we mean? Empathy is your ability to enter into another person's world of thoughts, emotions, feelings, and meanings by assessing that person's private world just as if it was your own. Even if you have never been able to enter into such a situation yourself, so that you can be able to experience life as he or she does and view the world from his or her own perspective. By so doing, you are able to place yourself into others person's situation so that you can be able to understand him or her and appreciate his or her circumstances and feelings without being judgmental. As a result, you are able to respect and regard the other person whose experiences may not be similar to yours. It is important to note from the onset that empathy is different from sympathy or from sympathy in the sense that sympathy is your feeling of sincere concern, sorry, and pitiful for someone who is passing through an uncomfortable situation, while empathy is your ability to understand what another person is passing through and actively sharing in his or her feelings. Therefore, by being empathetic, you are able to help other people feel much better around about themselves, accept themselves, including what they are passing through, and feel rejuvenated to face life with confidence, regardless of what they may be passing through or facing at that moment. You are thus able to help them know that they are not alone, for you are available and ready to walk their journey with them. Therefore, when a person is passing through some emotional turbulence, what he or she requires is not sympathy, but empathy. This person requires somebody that can just walk with him or her through his or her personal emotional experience and not somebody that will cry when he or she cries, feel pity, or feel merciful. In fact, if you sympathize with a person who is undergoing through some strong negative feelings due to a certain experience, you will make this person feel inferior, useless, despised, amongst other things, or amongst other feelings that are negative, thus making the condition of this person to become worse than the way it is. So, due to the fact that we all pass through various circumstances and situations in life, it is important to learn to accept others just the way they are and support them to be able to go through any issues, worries, problems, and the concerns that they may have so that they can be able to feel that they are valued and loved by you, even if you don't supply them with any material resources. Therefore, whereas you cannot understand exactly what the other person is feeling, because you are a different person from him or her, it is important that you put yourself into that person's shoes so that he or she can have a feeling that you have a sense of his or her world. He or she is understood and respected. and that he or she has somebody like you who is ready to work with him or her the entire journey. This is because when you put yourself within the other person's frame of reference, you will be very careful in what you do, in what you say, and how you treat that person, so that your response does not worsen that person's situation from the way you found it. Just as you have realized, every human being needs to empathize with others. So, if you find yourself exhibiting any of the following habits, it simply means that you seriously lack empathy. One is refusal to listen to others' views. Inability to build relationships and establish friendships. Being uncooperative. And engaging yourself in prolonged arguments. Blaming others for your own mistakes or for their mistakes. Being unable to work in a group or a team. Forming early opinions and defending yourself. Refusing to listen when being spoken to. Holding grudges against the others. Being unable to forgive, as well as thinking that others are overly sensitive. It is therefore important that you be able to empathize with others, because empathy promotes the habit of helping others. It helps you learn to control your emotions. Empathy helps you to build social interactions with others. It also helps you to understand others. It enables you to be able to connect with them, thus enabling you establish good relationships and friendships. Empathy helps you to develop knowledge on how to make wiser decisions in relation to social interactions. Empathy helps you to prevent and minimize conflicts between you and other people. And empathy helps you to be able to gain control of your emotions. Therefore, in order for you to be able to improve your empathetic skill, thus enabling you to empathize with others effectively without showing them pity or without showing pity for the person, you should always endeavor to ensure that immediately a person comes to you, or you go to him or her, you put yourself in his or her shoes in order for you to be able to see the world as he or she sees it. Allow the person to express fully his or her problem as you listen attentively without accompanying or while accompanying what you are hearing with the appropriate body language and facial expressions. Always ensure that you allow the person to express his or her problem fully, just as you listen attentively while accompanying what you are hearing with appropriate body language and facial expressions. By so doing, you will be able to connect with that person's emotions and perspective concerning the issue in a clear way. So, as the person expresses his or her emotions, be ready to share with that person's feelings by being sensitive to his or her emotions, regardless of the role that he or she might have played to cause his or her condition or situation. Number two, accept this person just he or she is, regardless of how he or she may be looking like, regardless of his or her behavior, regardless of his or her wants, and regardless of his or her status, so that he or she can feel respected and appreciated. This means that whenever a person comes to you seeking for some attention, just welcome him or her the way he or she is, without any conditions, and without behaving or speaking to this person in a way to suggest that you are uncomfortable or that you do not like the way he or she is. For this reason, do not give the person some preconditions before you can listen to him or her, such as demanding that the person does something before you can listen to him or her. For example, if a person comes while looking in a very bad situation, when the person comes looking extremely dirty, when the person comes stinking or smelling in a way that you do not like, or the person comes while completely dirty, with mud all over his or her body, and such other physical appearances, just accept this person just the way he or she is, without telling the person, go and wash, go and dress, go and look nice, etc. For that reason, just welcome the person the way he or she is. And even if you knew the person before, and you may be aware about what he or she is coming for, just assume that this is a new person from the one that you know, and handle him or her, or handle him or her as such. I repeat, for that reason, just welcome the person the way he or she is. And even if you knew the person before, and you may be aware about what he or she is coming for, just assume that this is a new person to you and handle him or her as such without any conditions. Number 3, always congratulate the person for opening up to you and assure him or her of confidentiality so that he or she can feel free to open up fully and speak out everything that may be contributing to his or her feelings or his or her condition. Let the person know that you appreciate him or her for the step that he or she has taken and for showing trust in you. For this reason, assure him or her that you will not disclose the subject of discussion to any other person unless with direct authority or consent from him or her. For this reason, you should never discuss with any other party any information that someone else has shared with you in confidence, because by so doing, you will not only be breaking the trust that this person had in you, but you will also worsen this person's condition if he or she gets to know about it or to hear about the matter from another person. Therefore, always treat what is shared with you privately as private information that should not be disclosed to another person without the authority of the source. The only time you can disclose information shared with you in private to the relevant authorities is if this information that the person has shared with you may be a threat to either himself or herself or to another person, and especially if the person is not ready to change his or her mind even after you have intervened. However, if you feel that you need to share that person's feelings with another person for the sake of the person getting some assistance or support, do it only after getting the permission to do so from the concerned person. Number 4, always treat the other person as important without generalizing him or her with other people, because every person is unique and is a unique being with unique qualities regardless of his or her race, gender, religion, tribe, or political affiliation. For this reason, always treat each person as important without any form of discrimination. Avoid stereotyping anyone and treat everyone equally and fairly, with the knowledge that every person has his or her own individual strengths and weaknesses, regardless of who he or she is, and regardless of where he or she comes from. Number 5, whenever a person shares his or her issue with you, you should accord him or her all the necessary care and concern. This does not necessarily mean providing him or her with the physical resources that he or she needs, but it simply means listening to him or her, making him or her feel that you understand him or her, and that you are concerned in making sure that he or she is okay. It is also good to ask a person how he or she is feeling in relation to what he or she is passing through, as well as seeking to know from him or her whether there is anything that you can do for him or her. In addition, you can express your support by offering this person some words of encouragement or even through some physical affection, such as hugging the person, slightly patting this person at his or her back, giving the person your shoulder to lean on, putting your arms around his or her shoulders, holding his or her hand gently, among such other similar gestures. However, my dear viewers and listeners, if you have to make use of physical affection, like what I have just said, remember to ask the person whether it is okay with him or her, because some of those gestures may be having some other connotations, which may make the person become uneasy and uncomfortable. Number 6, never assume that you know any information about a person, or assume that you know what a person means without letting that person speak it himself or herself. For this reason, it is always good to seek for more clarification directly from the person concerned without use of intermediaries. You can always ask this person questions in a friendly manner so that you can encourage this person to open up and share more information about what he or she is passing through. You can always do this after attentively listening to the person, and then once he or she is through with the talking, you can rephrase what the person has just said and seek for further clarification through some questions. However, do not ask this person irrelevant questions that do not add any value to the discussion, or questions that seem to direct the person towards some specific answers, or closed-ended questions that just needs a yes or a no answer, or questions that sound to be interrogatory, investigative, or judgmental. Therefore, let the questions you ask this person be open-ended in order to help you understand the issue in a better way and give the person adequate room to release his or her emotions. In addition, always avoid running ahead of conversations or running ahead to make a conclusive remark before a person has fully expressed himself or herself. So, avoid using words like, "it's okay," "I see," or "will be well," among such other similar statements. But instead, you can ask the person questions like, "How do you feel now? How is the situation now? What are your next plans?" Number 7, always share in one's feelings without discouraging the person from feeling the way he or she is feeling, and without brushing away one's feelings. Therefore, if a person is, for example, feeling frustrated, unhappy, among such other feelings, just put yourself in a similar status as that person so that you can be able to share those feelings with the person. Because by so doing, the person will feel that you are feeling with him or her and that you share in his or her experience. For this reason, never stop a person from expressing his or her feelings, but allow him or her to feel the way he or she is feeling. In addition, never tell a person that you know how he or she is feeling, because you are not him or her, and thus you can never know how one is feeling, because different people feel differently while under the same situations. But instead, you can tell the person that you can imagine how he or she is feeling. Number 8, you should avoid telling a person who is undergoing through negative emotions or a solemn moment anything that you cannot substantiate, regardless of how good it might sound. For example, you should avoid telling a person that God knows why he or she is passing through whatever he or she is passing through, or God knows why this is happening to him or her, or that God has good plans for him or her through what he or she is passing through. Why are these not good statements, my dear viewers and my dear listeners, regardless of how much you might be saved or how much you might be born again, or regardless of your religion? Why are such statements not very good to tell a person who is passing through a solemn moment? This is because, whereas this might be true, such statements may make this person hating God even more, because through such statements, this person may wonder why he or she should associate himself or herself with such a God that has nothing good for him or her, or a God who cannot have a good plan for a person without making him or her pass through uncomfortable situations. In fact, through your ones, my dear viewers and my dear listeners, this person may even wonder why this God did not make you to be the one who is passing through what he or she is passing through, now that you are the one who seems to understand why this God would have allowed such a bad situation to occur to him or her. After all, you are not in the mind of God yourself, and such statements do not add any value to this person, because what this person needs in such a moment is someone that can feel what he or she is feeling and help him or her process those feelings successfully. After all, what the person is passing through might not have been caused by God. What the person is passing through might have been caused by other factors. And therefore, don't associate God with things that you don't know. Don't associate God with what you don't know. By the way, assuming that this emotional person, or assuming that this emotional person decides to request you to tell him or her why God did not make you to be the one who is passing through what he or she is passing through, what would you say? What will you tell him or her? On the other hand, assuming that this person asks you why God cannot have good plans for someone without making him or her suffer, what would you say? By the way, assuming that this emotional person decides to request you to tell him or her why God did not make you to be the one who is passing through what he or she is passing through, what would you say? My dear viewers and my dear listeners, I am repeating these statements to show you that you should avoid speaking or uttering some words that you cannot substantiate. What about if the person asks you why God cannot have good plans for someone without making him or her suffer? What will you tell him? If this person asks you why God cannot be able to do something good for him or her without making him or her pass through what he or she is passing through, what will you say? Therefore, my dear viewers and my dear listeners, you need to be very careful. Don't involve God where involving him is not necessary. In other words, I'm not saying that God is not present. I'm not saying that God cannot have good plans to such a person. But what I'm simply saying is avoid using God as your excuse. Therefore, now that you are neither God yourself, nor are you in the mind of God to know what is going on in his mind, avoid bringing God or other people in such discussions, because what this person means is for you to understand him or her by viewing the situation just as he or she is seeing it, and then you help him or her to accept the situation that has occurred and be able to assist him or her go through the situation successfully. Always avoid telling a person anything that you cannot substantiate or anything that may leave him or her feeling worse than the way he or she was before meeting with him or her. Avoid speaking anything that you yourself would not have liked to hear if you were in a similar situation like this person. Number 9, avoid or always look at every situation from various angles. So avoid looking at a situation from a single angle. This is because if you only look at a person, or you look at a situation that a person has found himself or herself in from a single angle or a single perspective, you might conclude that this person was on the wrong, yet that may not be the case. In fact, if you limit yourself into looking at a situation from a single point of view or from a single perspective, you may never know the truth about something, and thus you may think that a person was on the wrong, yet you may be the person who is on the wrong. For this reason, always look at an issue from various perspectives and through various approaches so that you can be able to understand the basis behind the person's behavior. Number 10, avoid judging a person regardless of how much proof you might think that you have on the subject of discussion. Never doubt what the person is telling you, and never assume that you know what the person wants. So, always believe that whatever this person is telling you is true according to him or her, regardless of how he or she might have behaved before, or regardless of whether he or she has ever cheated you before or not. In addition, avoid telling this person that you knew that he or she cannot be relied upon. You know that he or she is not genuine. You know that he or she would not or would do it again. You know that he or she will fail again, among such other judgmental statements. Also, resist from requesting the person for evidence to prove that whatever he or she is telling you is the truth. Always remember that you can never know what is in a person's heart or mind except through what he or she says or does. And for that reason, it is always good to believe in whatever that he or she may say. So, even if what the person has done is beyond your expectations, just give this person room to express himself or herself freely concerning the matter, just as she or he understands it, without implying that he or she was the cause of his or her problem, in as much as that may be true. Allow the person to tell you freely why he or she did whatever that he or she did, and then ask him or her what he or she thinks might have triggered the same and what he or she thinks is the best way forward. Number 11, avoid spending too much time rebuking or reminding a person for a crime or mistakes that he or she has already committed because some of them are irreversible. If it happened, it happened. And thus, the best thing you can do at that time is to encourage the person to own up to the crime or mistake and be accountable for the same without the use of threats or intimidation. In fact, if a person has already been able to acknowledge that he or she was wrong and is apologetic about it, please stop reminding this person about his or her former mistakes. Always remember that even if someone made a mistake before, that does not mean that the person can never do something good. And having committed a crime before does not mean that the person is always a criminal and or that he or she can never change. In other words, guide the person to own up to the mistake if there is adequate evidence of the same, and let the person see the reason as to why he or she may be punished. Avoid threatening the person, even if it is true that he or she has committed a crime, and you will for sure receive the established punishment. So, if a person makes a mistake and is punished or forgiven of the same, don't keep on reminding this person about the same mistake later, because that may undermine his or her effort to avoid the same later. In addition, even if this person has repeated the same mistake several times, and encourage this person to avoid similar mistakes again through statements such as, I know that you are a good person and that you have made a decision to avoid making mistakes. I am convinced in my heart that you will never repeat such a mistake again. I know that you hate to be punished for the mistakes you can avoid. I am convinced in my heart that you are a good person and you don't like repeating mistakes. In addition, even if this person has repeated the same mistake several times, and encourage this person to avoid similar mistakes again through statements such as, I know that you are a good person and that you have made a decision to avoid making mistakes. I am convinced in my heart that you will never repeat such a mistake again. I know that you hate to be punished for the mistakes that you can avoid. I am convinced in my heart that you are a good person and you don't like repeating mistakes. Number 12, never assume or ignore a person regardless of how uncomfortable you might be with whatever that he or she is saying. Therefore, even if you may know in advance of the decision that you expect to make concerning what the person is saying, just listen to this person attentively without disrupting and only ask him or her some open-ended questions only when necessary on anything that you might not have understood so that he or she can clarify it. Always remember that what this person needs at that moment is simply a shoulder to lean on, and therefore, just listen to this person carefully and attentively until he or she is through. Even if this person wants to cry and cry, don't request him or her to stop crying, but allow this person to cry and cry. And if he or she maintains some silence, just give this person time, but encourage him or her to open up. If he or she keeps long, for so long and speak his or her whole heart out. Remember that crying and even keeping quiet are all methods of expressing oneself. However, during this period of silence or a period of crying, make sure to observe this person's nonverbal cues and body language so that you can see what he or she is saying. For this reason, discipline yourself to be allowing a person to express his or her feelings freely. So, never ignore one's requests to speak to you and never ignore one's phone call before you hear the purpose of the call. In addition, train yourself to be receiving calls in a humorous, friendly, and courteous manner, even if you do not know who the person is, or even if you don't know or you don't like the person who is calling you. So, always listen attentively to what the other person is saying through his or her mouth, as well as what he or she is not saying orally, but is being expressed or said through use of body language and facial expressions without interruptions, and with your responses reflecting that person's nonverbal behaviors. Number 13, listen to the person or people attentively and with full focus. Therefore, whenever anyone is talking to you, always concentrate fully on what he or she is saying, both verbally and non-verbally, so that you can learn from him or her and be able to understand what he or she is saying. Never interrupt that conversation or never interrupt the conversation by thinking about what to say or by doing other things, such as looking away, looking at your phone, reading something, talking to someone, receiving phone calls, amongst other such disruptive behaviors. But just stay in the moment or listening genuinely and attentively so that you can be able to help the person. For this reason, make sure that you maintain eye contact and use other verbal affirmations such as facial expressions to encourage the person to continue speaking. Always show this person that you are listening attentively by nodding your head appropriately, replicating that person's mood, such as smiling when he or she smiles, or expressing sadness when he or she expresses the same, among such other expressions based on the person's mood. Number 14, you also need to be able to reflect on your emotions and express them so that you can be able to understand others' emotions in a better way. For this reason, you must first be able to understand your own emotions by being free to express them when the occasion calls for it. So, make it a habit to be telling others how you really feel instead of assuming that all is well when you are not well. Always express and speak out your true feelings. This is because if you are used to suppressing, repressing, or ignoring your emotions and not being genuine in your own feelings, you may not be able to understand other people's feelings adequately. If, for example, you hide your feelings of anger by smiling, or you keep quiet when angry, or you may also be, or that when a person is talking to you rudely, you are just assuming nothing is going on, and such other things or other behaviors. So if you don't reflect or if you don't express your real feelings when you are passing through a certain situation, you may also misinterpret similar feelings from other people, thus making it impossible for you to understand them. For this reason, It is good that you also practice taking time to reflect on your own emotions and make a decision to be always sincere in expressing your feelings without suppressing them. As you process your own feelings, it's also good that you work through those negative emotions that you may have so that you can be able to move past them and also be able to assist others go through similar feelings. You can visit the YouTube channel by the name Emily Swap Life Skills and listen to the video by the title Manage Your Emotions to Experience Emotional Well-Being so that you can be able to equip yourself with knowledge on how to manage your personal emotions. Number 15, always challenge your own prejudices by remembering that just because you don't do what the other person has done, or just because you don't believe in what this other person believes, or just because you are not in the same status as this other person, that does not qualify you to treat others or other people or perceive the other person negatively. So, instead of perceiving the other person negatively, pay attention to the person's positive and unique qualities and strengths in order to understand them better. It is also important that you try to look at some commonalities between you, yourself, and the other person so as to avoid labeling the other person. By so doing, you will be able to know that whereas this person is passing through such a situation at such a time and feeling the way he or she is feeling, you might also have been in a similar situation before, and you know how you felt and how people treated you. You can even ask the person if he or she is comfortable to introduce himself or herself briefly by letting him or her tell you how he or she is and what he or she does. This is because by so doing, you will be able to gain some insights on why he or she looks the way he or she does, why he or she talks the way he or she does, and why he or she dresses the way he or she does, among such other behaviors. This will thus help you to not only understand the person better, but it also help you yourself challenge some of your own prejudices. Number 16, it is also good for you to identify a project that you are passionate about, especially that which deals with helping other people and participate in it. This will enable you to work with others on a common goal, be able to appreciate others, acknowledge what others are passing through, and also enable you to work with them through their journey to recovery. You can also do this by volunteering yourself to work in an organization that deals with helping people process their emotions. And as you interact with others, you will be able to improve on your empathetic skill. You can also develop your empathy by working with others on a common goal, bringing about social change, and through such other social activities. Number 17, it is also not ethical for someone to express his or her needs, and then you just tell the person that all is well. Yet, you have the ability to help this person with what he or she needs. For this reason, always offer the person the help that he or she is looking for, or help him or her cater for whatever that is making him or her uncomfortable, as long as you are capable to do so. For example, if a person comes to you complaining of hunger or thirst for lack of food or water, just provide this person with the food or water, and more so, guide him or her on what he or she can do to be able to cater for his or her personal needs later. Do not just tell this person that God will grant him or her his or her request, yet God has already provided you with what this person is looking for. Therefore, if a person is in need of material support and you have the ability to assist him or her, do not resist to help. In fact, providing this person with what he or she requires is a wonderful gesture of empathy. Number 18, you can also share some of your vulnerabilities and some emotional connection by opening up or disclosing some of your experience that is similar but relevant to the situation that the other person is experiencing. You therefore share with the other person your own inner landscape for the purpose of helping this person realize that what he or she is passing through is not just unique to himself or herself, but it is also something that another person has passed through, you included. By so doing, you are able to express your feelings about the situation with the emphasis being on the feelings that you went through and how you are able to overcome. But as you do this, be very careful not to let your past emotions overwhelm you to the extent of making this other person perceive what he or she is passing through to be a serious threat to his or her life. However, only share experiences that you have been able to overcome for the purpose of encouraging this other person by feeling that if you were able to go through such a situation and overcome, then he or she will also be able to overcome. Therefore, be very careful when disclosing yourself so that your disclosure does not undermine this person's emotions, and only disclose yourself to the extent that this person's issue is concerned. Remember that it is not you who is seeking for help at this moment, and this session is not yours, but it is for the other person who is seeking for help. For this reason, do not dominate this session by narrating your own emotions and taking too long. Number 19, avoid spreading negative rumors about other people, regardless of whether they are accurate or false. This is because if people realize that you are the type of a person that likes talking about others, they will always shy away from sharing with you any of their feelings for fear of disclosure. In fact, if you would not be impressed to hear people speak negatively about your life, and more in reference to things that you do not even know about, then do not also do the same to others. Therefore, whenever you hear anything negative about a person from another person, it is always good to think about how the person is being talked about. Would you feel if such information could reach him or her? Then, if you feel that if this person hears such, he or she will become uncomfortable and even emotional, just hold your horses and do not inform him or her about what you have heard. However, you can seek for some truths concerning the matter in a friendlier way and in a way that will not hurt his or her emotions without telling him or her that you heard such from another person. However, the purpose of such consultation, if it has to happen, should be purely to help rectify this person in a wise way without being judgmental. In fact, it's always better to avoid encouraging rumor mongering because it is an act that tarnishes other people's names, regardless of whether it's accurate or not. So, if a person tries to share any negative information about another person with you, ask this person to share the same with the concerned person, and if he or she refuses, request him or her to keep quiet and stop that behavior of spreading such rumors. In conclusion, empathy is a superpower that can change any situation that any person is passing through, including changing the world from a bad state to the best state. This is because through empathy, you are able to love one another just as you love yourself. You are able to avoid judging others. You are able to avoid discriminating against the others. You are able to avoid celebrating in others' problems. You are able to always do the best for each other and to each other without preconditions. You are able to establish sincere and honest relationships. You are able to avoid conflicts, and generally, you are able to do to others exactly what you would have liked them do for you and to you. This is because you can always be able to put yourself in others' shoes and see everything through their own perspective and through their own worldview or their own frame of reference. For this reason, you should always embrace empathy, develop empathy, and practice empathy so that you can be able to live your small world a better place than you found it. Congratulations for listening to this video about empathizing with others. To easily access more life skills, motivational, and inspirational resources from this Emily Swap Life Skills YouTube channel, click on subscribe button below this video if it's not currently reading as subscribed. You can also access various free resources in ICT or computer field by searching for and subscribing to Emily Swap ICT YouTube channel if it will not already be reading as subscribed. For any further suggestions, corrections, or queries in relation to this video and others posted in any of the above two YouTube channels, that is Emily Swap Life Skills and Emily Swap ICT YouTube channels, kindly feel free to write it to us through the email emilyswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me and be blessed.